Afghanistan now, where more than 100 people have been killed in deadly flooding there. Heavy rains swept through Charikar in Parwan province, destroying hundreds of houses and leaving dozens trapped under the rubble. The local governor is pleading with the central government in Kabul to send aid to the stricken region. Rescuers are trying to dig through dirt and debris with machinery, shovels, and their bare hands.
There was barbed wire on the roof of my neighbor's house. I cut that and wanted to take my family to the rooftop as the floodwater was coming towards us, just to save their lives. Suddenly, the floodwater flushed out everything in my family. 7 members of my family are missing, and I don't know where they are.
Meanwhile, those heavy monsoon rains have also caused severe flooding in neighboring Pakistan's largest city of Karachi. Authorities there have reported at least 90 deaths over the last 3 days, and streets and some homes across the city have been flooded with sewage. Severe rainfall in the country is expected to continue until Thursday. Now, 500,000 people have been ordered to evacuate as Hurricane Laura approaches the U.S. Gulf Coast. The storm is set to be reclassified as a Category 4 hurricane, meaning the Texas-Louisiana coast could be battered by winds of up to 250 kilometers an hour. It's already wreaked havoc in the Caribbean, killing 21 people in Haiti alone and piling debris onto the streets. The hurricane is also predicted to generate inland tornadoes. Well, for more, we can speak to Darren Lynn. He joins us now live from Houston. Darren, thanks so much for being with us. Category 4, I mean, it's the worst you can do almost, and we've seen what it has done to the Gulf before. Are protections in place to make sure, nothing like Katrina, for example, can happen again?
The biggest protection right now is evacuating, and that's what's happening along the coastline here from Texas all the way through Louisiana. In Louisiana right now, in Lake Charles, which is about 200 miles away from Houston, more than 200,000 people along the coastline have been evacuated. And that's the difference between now and Katrina 15 years ago, where many people sheltered in place, and you saw the death and devastation that happened once Katrina made landfall. Officials in those coastal communities don't want the same thing to happen with Hurricane Laura because, as you mentioned, it could be a Category 4 hurricane by the time it makes landfall, and that will entail winds of up to 156 miles per hour sustained. In addition, the storm surge is expected to be anywhere between 15 and 20 feet, so you have to think about that. That is the size of a one-story house, a wall of water crashing through on the shore, and could potentially cause more death and destruction. So evacuating is the key. That is what is taking place right now, because in the next 8 to 12 hours, once Laura makes landfall, people do not want to be on that coastline.
Right. I mean, Darren, again, you're in Houston. We just saw devastating floods there, only 3 years ago. I feel like the city would have only just recovered from that, and now Laura is bearing down.
Houston is no stranger to hurricanes, and you're right. 3 years ago, almost to this day, Hurricane Harvey came through, and the flooding that took place in this city was astronomical. It just destroyed everything. People are still recovering right now, and they want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Even though forecasters are saying this is going to be more of a wind event rather than a rain event, Houston is a city that is low-lying and gets flooding anyway, even with just heavy storms. So even if the forecast is for 3 to 7 inches of rain, if that comes in a condensed period of time, you're going to see a lot of flooding take place, and you don't want to have that happen in addition to the heavy winds, the storm surge, the possibility of tornadoes making taking their toll on the situation once Laura makes landfall. So yes, evacuations are important. More than 300,000 people along the coastline of Texas have been ordered to mandatorily evacuate.
Darren, the U.S. is, still in the middle of the pandemic. Millions are unemployed, and a storm like this can pack a huge, huge economic punch. What kind of financial damage could we be talking about here? And is the U.S. and the state of Texas ready to deal with that?
If you take a look at the historical past for both Hurricanes Katrina and Harvey, the toll financially on both of those communities for those hurricanes was $125 billion. If Hurricane Laura gives that same impact, which it very well might do because it is a Category 4 once it makes landfall, then you could see the impact being more than one.
Syrian account. I just came from Geneva today. there. The Constitutional Committee began. It was a good beginning, much helped by Turkey's encouragement of all members of the Constitutional Committee, particularly the opposition. They're now waiting to see the results of COVID tests on several members, but we are very, very hopeful that the Constitutional Committee will continue and will start really moving forward on the political track. The situation in Syria